Okay, hey, welcome back to another Black City coffee vlog. In this video, I'm going to go over how I cup. And this is not a official SCA how to cup or anything, but I will have derived everything that I've done from that. The point of cupping is twofold. One is to find out if you can see any defects. So quality control. Is it good? Does it taste good? What's in the cup? And then two, it can just be this experience where, say you as a roaster, or you have a new coffee, or whatever it is, and you want to just see what your palate picks up. You want to see what are the nuanced flavors that you can pull out and maybe even describe. That's it. That's kind of like how I look at cupping. So quality control, and then on the other hand, an experience. Let's have fun with it. Let's play with it. Let's see how many fruit notes we can pull out of it and see how many fruit notes we can taste or whatever, right? There's so many ways I think that you can use cupping as a vehicle to just explore coffee more. So we're gonna take kind of like a beginner's take to cupping, I think, and how I guess I'd approach it now after being 2 years in it or so, whatever. And this was requested from one of you guys, so I'll just break down the equipment that you'll need. And I don't think you need anything fancy, and there's a ton of other tutorials about cupping, but I'm pretty honored to be asked to make a tutorial like how I would do it. Okay, so let's go over the equipment in no special order. Timer, very important. You can use your phone, right? So whatever timer you like. I liked, the reason why I have this instead of my phone is because I use my phone for social media, for other things, and I like to have it right here. If I'm making content, I can see the timer going right there, and it's separate from my phone. But you can use your phone for sure. A scale, right? So you want it to be in grams. We're going to be using the grams unit of measurement. Cupping bowls. So I just upgraded my little bowls here when I went to Hasea, and they had bowls, and I was like, hell yeah, let's just pick up 12 of them. How many you're going to need. So depending on how many coffees, you probably want to just start off with 2. 2 is a good number, because what you're going to want to do is have 2 cups of the same coffee, like if this is an experience thing, and if it's a quality control thing, you want to have 2 so you can see. It's really about consistency. So you're really just seeing if you can pull any defects. The more samples that you can have of the coffee, I think you're giving your shot. You're giving yourself the best shot to like quality control in that way. It helps you, people say it better, but it helps you to be able to see if there's any inconsistencies in your roast. I have 4 here on the table, and you guys will see why. So I have 2 cups here. These can be any kind of cups. 1 cup is for spitting, and it's branded because I make videos. And the other one could just be for rinsing your next item, cupping spoons. So you can use any soup spoon. I think a nice little bowl shape to the spoon, something that's not sharp, something that holds enough for you to taste is perfectly fine. Just have them be the same size. I think that'll help you. They don't need to be special $20 cupping spoons. They really don't. And in the end, it's really an aesthetics sort of vibe. And once you get into cupping a lot, then I think you maybe care about what kind of spoon you use. But as a beginner, you definitely wouldn't want to use something like this. Like, look how deep that is. You'd choke yourself. So you definitely want something pretty shallow. There's a couple times like my husband choked himself on this amount of coffee. So, having a small bowled spoon is totally fine. I like to have this spoon here when I'm doing blends. So this is not really in cupping, but when I'm making blends, I use a bigger scoop to like just test more. Like this, it just saves me more time than trying to scoop stuff like with this thing. Okay, so the reason why I have extra bowls here, so say you have a coffee, right? Like I just roasted this morning, and this is a decaf medium. You'll want to measure out. I like to use 10 grams of coffee. I think SCA standard, because they have standard size bowls as well, I think it's 12 grams. I just use 10. You can use 11, like whatever you want to use at home, just stick to it. So I was using 12 before. I had a little bit larger bowls. I forget where I put them. I just use 10 grams of coffee, okay? So we'll measure out 10 grams, right? So say you had a new coffee, and then I will do it again, 10 grams-ish, okay? And since we have 2 here, we'll do it again. So we have 3. Now, 2 of these I'm actually going to cup, but this first one is a burn, like a burn card when you're playing poker. Okay, so your grinder, you're going to want the best grinder you can afford to cup, because the better the grind, the more clarity of flavor that you're going to be able to taste on the cupping table. Okay, so my best grinder right now is just my Capresso. It's not the best, right? So whenever I decide to pony up and just get that what is that, 43 Malkonig grinder, I'm gonna wait till I like fully upgrade everything. It's so expensive. I'm still paying for medical bills, all right? You're gonna wanna burn this one, and I know that's gonna kill you in your soul a little bit. But you need to flush your grinder of whatever coffee came before it, okay? Especially say if you're like a dark coffee drinker with a lot of oils in your grinder, you're probably gonna wanna clean that out, because typically when you're cupping coffees, you're cupping lighter roast things. The whole point of cupping typically is to taste nuance, right? If you're going that route, taste any defects, taste the true origin of the coffee, right? That's all these little buzz terms and words. But you want to flush that, okay? And if you see that it's super oily and it's gunky in there, and you haven't cleaned your your grinder in say a couple of months, and you've been drinking a lot of, you know, even medium to darker roasts, you probably want to get in there and clean that first, because best believe those acrid, stale coffee oils are going to come into this coffee that you just roasted and affect what you are cupping and tasting. And that's a big deal, because, you know, say if this is a quality control situation, then you're not getting an accurate picture of what you just produced here. Another thing, the point of cupping is really just to taste and test the coffee only. We have a lot of things going on here, and so we're trying to systemize, create a lot of consistency where nothing is interfering and getting in the way of one variable, which is coffee. See, people have said this way better than I have, so you asked for it, all right? Next piece of equipment is a nice kettle that you can hopefully control the temperature on. You want to get that to about 205. And I like to go, when I'm cupping, and say I'm cupping a lot of coffees, I'll even go a little hotter, just because I know I'm going to be pouring a lot, and you know, there's more time in between me actually cupping. So, you know, we're just doing our best here. So I'm actually heating my water right now up to 204. It's been ready. So what we're gonna do is just run through the gambit. And I'm gonna have an older coffee here on the table, and I'm gonna compare it to a newer coffee. And this is a really fun drill to do. I remember doing this with Jared, and I was like, this is fun. Like, you know, we were going through tasting some coffees on the table, and one of them he said was old, and I was like, oh, okay, so that's what old tastes like. Cool. And I thought that was really interesting. I like to have everything in this little tray because, you know, this is a home setup. I would prefer to cup standing up, But this kind of helps me as my neck gets better. It's actually, I've been working on it, so I will be able to get in here and sniff and all that stuff. But let's get into it, okay? So I'm just gonna take you through, I guess, what I'm doing here. Let's go ahead and cover this. I didn't actually measure this out, so let's do that. That's our burn. And I feel like whether you use 10, 11, 12, whatever, just stick to that. Whatever you're doing in that day, just stick to that. Today, for me, it's 10. Another thing to have, I like to keep is just a towel. It's going to get kind of, there'll be a lot of drops here. Oh, and another thing, notebook. Hopefully that water is going to stay nice and hot for us. We're going to grind these really quickly. You want your grind on a medium fine. All right, so I'll throw up in the picture for you guys what to look for. So here's our burn grind. All right, so we are primed, okay? This one mixed with whatever I drank before. We're not gonna use that one. Burn. Sample 1. Okay. 2. Vietnam medium against my decaf medium. Older, newer. Okay. Ooh, I smell the little soy sauce coming off there. Okay, so now next we're going to turn on our timer. We're going to set it to 4 minutes. And we're going to just fill these guys to the lip. I'm going to start here. And you want to wet all the grounds, of course. Start. Okay, so we're going to let these brew for a good 4 minutes. Now you notice I hit start on that guy, right? And I had 2 others. So, if we were like doing this the professional way, they would account for those extra seconds for these other cups or these other bowls. Okay, I ain't doing that. But I'm just letting you know, I'm aware of it, all right? But it's just not a big deal to me. Okay, so as we let these brew, you can come in here, you can smell the crust and see if you can pick up anything. And you'll want to move to each side of your nose because each side is not equal, so you're going to want to move to each side of the nose. For me, it's always a little tough just because it's never super clear. I've got sinus issues. I have this thing called rhinosinusitis, something like that. Anyway, it doesn't give me the best sense of smell, but I think I have a pretty okay palate, and especially in just terms of like picking up defect. Okay, so we have 2 minutes, right? And the reason why you want to do that is it won't make so much of a difference now when you're getting started, but it's part of the process. It's part of the experience. And once you break the crust and you get into it, there are levels to this thing, and you're going to see how coffee changes from this phase to this phase to the next phase. And that's just a part of the whole process of experiencing what cupping is all about with coffee. So I think the beauty of cupping is allowing you to appreciate coffee in so many other ways that you just maybe you weren't even aware of. And I think that's really cool. Another thing is that typically in an SCA professional environment, they will have 5 bowls for each cup of coffee. I think I told you 2, but I think if you're a roaster, 2 is good. It allows you just to get a good picture, good snapshot of what you just roasted. But yeah, in a professional sense, like if you were, say, thinking about buying thousands of, you know, kilos of coffee, you're gonna want to do 5, and it'll be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Just like this this mat, which is pretty cool. All right, let's pour some water for our rinsing. What do you call that? To rinse. Okay. So stop. And then I'm just going to keep it going. So I'm going to clear this and keep the timer going just because I want to just keep note of time, and I'm going to be tasting this as it's cooling down because temperature masks flavor. So as it keeps cooling, you're going to be able to taste even more. Just like a cold beer, like you can drink a really cold, crappy beer and you're like, cool, whatever, it's cold. But if you were to taste it when it wasn't chilled, you'd be able to taste everything, right? Maybe all the bad stuff. So temperature masks flavor. So again, you know, I like to keep the timer going so I can keep tasting it at +1, +2, +3, +4, +5, right? It's gonna keep changing as it cools. Okay, so I'm talking too much. It's been a minute. Let's go ahead and break the crust, and we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna smell it. Okay. I like to smell the back to help myself. Then we're gonna rinse, just out of habit, even though these are the same coffee. So the smells that I'm getting off of this breaking the crust part for this coffee is just super like caramelly, malty, that kind of smell. This one's really similar, but it's because I kind of already know, but it smells thinner, if that makes sense. Okay, so cool. We've broken the crust. Now we need to remove the grounds, and I could have another bowl for this, but I'm just gonna put it in my little spittoon cup here. So we're just gonna swoop around. Okay. Swoop around and kind of get all the like foam and stuff. All right, and I want to make sure that I just get, especially a lot of these like big chunky, if there's any chunky bits of ground, and I like to just keep it rinsed because I want it to be clean. And I see bits of chaff kind of like floating. I want to get that too. Okay. I remember a time when I was like cupping, and I totally, because I was like telling myself I never get anything off the crust, and I would forget to like break the crust. And so I think some of my cuppings have been kind of wonky before in the past. But, you know, we just live and learn, and nobody's watching. You're not making a YouTube video for everybody to see yet. Okay, cool. There's already a change in color, but we know one is medium. They're both medium, meaning I roasted them to a full city. It's been 3 minutes already. I think we can go ahead and even give these a whirl. So I like to have my spittoon here. Another thing with spitting, okay? Spit first. Yeah, before just drinking everything. If you want the full experience of cupping, why we cup, it's really to taste the flavor and then release it. Take it in, let it go. If you take in everything and you're I guess you're not maybe attuned to cupping yet, or if you're new to cupping, just learn this first. This is like your standard, and then you can deviate from it later. But I think it's great to be able to take it in, taste it, and then let it go. Take in the next coffee, taste it, let it go. Okay? You can drink everything, but that flavor could interfere with the next new coffee. So it's not really a big deal here for me. And for me as a home roaster, I know what these coffees taste like. I'm not buying anything right now, right? I'm not worried about being over caffeinated in this sense, but just try that first, all right? And then you could drink it afterwards. But for your first kind of run around, just spit first and kind of get used to that. All right. Soapboxes, sorry. That's just my encouraging tip. Okay, so when we are cupping, we're slurping this. Now, I'm Asian, okay? Like, we're pros at this. So, if slurping is rude or weird to you, now is the time to let go of that belief, because in coffee and in cupping, you're just trying to basically not be rude or not be uncivilized, but just to aerate the coffee in your mouth so that the coffee hits your palate in all the right ways. Okay, let's just do this. Okay, we're going to taste the next one. See, I'm not filling the whole thing. If you fill the whole thing like this, you might choke, all right? So fill it, like that. I like to go kind of like, that's what my mouth looks like. I'm trying to think of like how I would really break it down for like someone like my husband who has a hard time slurping coffee. So if you're having a hard time, you can go slow at first, okay? So we're gonna do this one now. So take a little bit. You can even take a little bit more than that, right? Like that. And then come up to the lips and kind of make this face. And then just let it go, all right? Ooh, yeah, roasty. So a little bit, let's go again. And you can really, the more like, kind of like aggressive you are with it, you want it to like kind of hit the back of your tongue. So you're just trying to coat your whole tongue, your whole palate in one fell swoop. And, don't be feeling weird about it. I don't like that one. The best decaf in the world right now, for me. Okay. Now, if you watch the pros, they're going to go very quickly. One, because they're very practiced, and their palate is so good about picking up things, recognizing what's what. So they're going to be fast. You don't need to be fast, okay? Especially if this is your first time. Just take your time with it. Try to be present. Don't really think about what you should look like. Just let all of that go. It's your time to cup, and you're gonna just do it in the way that you know how right now. But don't think about like, oh, I don't look like so-and-so, or I don't sound like so-and-so. Just let all that stuff go, okay? Because you're not, so let it go. And if you do, bravo. Ow! All right, so good thing I got new teeth. So what I'm doing there is I'm kind of like chewing the coffee. Like just kind of like that helps me in terms of you don't need to do that, but I like to do that so that I could chew the coffee more. I could sit with the coffee more, let it kind of fall around in spots that I feel more comfortable, and I could pull more flavors out and stuff, and just taste it better. Okay. No, still in my mouth. And then spit. Okay. Now, if we're going to not spit anymore and we want to drink the coffee, I like to save that kind of like for the end. Because now you're going to deal with this kind of second layer of tasting the coffee, which is like how it coats your mouth and your throat. Okay, wow, I just found out I was talking for 30 minutes straight and it was not recording. Thanks a lot, Canon. All right, so we were talking about swallowing the coffee. Yeah, so it's gonna be a different feeling when you swallow it, okay? It's not the same, dude. Okay, let's just go ahead and give this another whirl. Yeah. You know what? I like to save, actually drinking the coffee till the end. Now, another thing, you don't want to be over caffeinated, right? Like caffeine, it's a drug. It's no joke to be over caffeinated. Even I was like that. I was like, coffee is like water. It's really not. Okay. Especially if you're in your 30s, all right, just don't do it. Leave your ego at the door. Something you're going to want to do when you're assessing the coffee that's in front of you, kind of forgot to do this too, but is to have the coffee in another bowl. You can choose any container you want, really, but it's really just to have the coffee in front of you so that when you're tasting it, you can go, oh, okay, like I have good development here, and this is what it tastes like, right? So you're making connections in your brain and cataloging this new information in your brain when you're cupping and being like, okay, so a medium roast of this coffee tastes like this. I see how when I go a little bit, or when I taste this light coffee versus this medium roast coffee versus, say, even this darker roast coffee, there's these differences. And though you might assume the differences, right, before even cupping, when you actually get on the cupping table and make those connections, like right, and you actually catalog that in your brain with real taste and the visual, it makes that data point in your brain all that more stronger, because you as a person who's tasting this coffee is probably going to taste a lot more. So the more present and care and attention and honor that you can bring to this experience of cupping this coffee is just going to be, you're just going to help yourself much more as you keep tasting coffees, right? Because you didn't do this action of cupping coffee at home half-assed. You really gave it your best. You really tried to be present. You really tried to see like, okay, this development gets me this result, right? And if I go and take this coffee, this older coffee, and I have it here on the table up for a comparison, and I go, okay, this oily surface of the bean, this Vietnam origin, it tastes like this. I could taste that sort of like older, thinner body to it because it's older. I can see how this one's more vibrant, even though they're both roasted to a medium profile, and I could see that this coffee in comparison to this coffee, there's a difference there, right? So all these little things I'm sort of cataloging in my brain, and this is very helpful for a roaster because I'm going to take that information and use it to allow me to become more instinctual and intuitive with coffee. They're just more solid bricks that you're laying down as you keep building this like foundation of knowledge, right? So it's super fun and exciting to be able to do that, and get as nerdy as you want with it. I think that's super awesome. I'm so deflated because my first take was so good. It's so rare to have a really good first take. I'm not performing for you. Like, this is how I am with coffee. I'm a little kind of lit up and weird and turned on by coffee. Don't do that. You don't have to do that. When you're tasting coffee, and you go to taste it, right? No. Try to stay as zen as possible. You want to keep your human biases and emotions sort of out of it. I'm doing that because I'm being recorded. I'm trying to not make a show of myself, but I'm trying to be just a little bit more. I'm trying to emote and let you know what I'm tasting through the screen. That's why I'm doing it. If I'm doing it by myself, and I'm tasting these coffees by myself, and I'm deciding to buy a new coffee, or this is a new sample, I don't do that, right? I'm trying to just give you guys an insight and a window into my brain and into this palette that I'm tasting these coffees. Otherwise, it'd be like every cupping video would be the same. Okay, so I'm just trying to give you that. But when you're doing this at home, you're not making videos, right? There's nobody to impress. Nobody's gonna judge you. Nobody's gonna be like, hey, you don't look or sound like so-and-so. You don't have any of that, right? And if you're thinking that in your brain, let all that stuff go. But yeah, just try to leave all that stuff at the door so that the coffee can be the only thing that's on the table. You know, as emotive as you are as a human, you're just beautifully flawed. Sorry. You're beautifully flawed and you have your biases. So we want to try to separate that as much as possible when we're tasting coffee. Right? So this has cooled down quite a bit. And as I'm tasting this, yeah, it's really nice. Nice bright body, a good solid coating, but not heavy, not syrupy. I feel like this decaf, the magic of this decaf, is feeling like I'm drinking a caffeinated coffee. Like, it doesn't taste thin. It doesn't taste like it's missing something. I don't know if you've ever had, like, say, a diner decaf. You're like, this is just brown water. Whereas I think the difference between a coffee drinker and a tea drinker, like, tea is it has a thin body, right? So it leaves your palate pretty quickly. Whereas coffee, I feel the thing that people love about it is the feel, is that coating feel. So it's not like we're drinking honey, but it definitely feels heavier in terms of body. And we coffee drinkers, we love that, okay? Another thing is, if you are going to cup on a regular basis, try to find a time in the day. And I break this rule all the time because I'm trying to make videos when I cup. But typically I'll try to do it in the morning. I'll try to do it in the morning where I'm not rushing anywhere. I'm not going to go anywhere. I have time on my hands to be very present with the coffee, to write down any notes I feel like I need to do. And I definitely will do notes, especially if I have a new coffee on the board that I want to sell and stuff. But if we're just trying to experience coffee for what it is and just try to be in there and taste and all that stuff, I really don't write anything down. Unless something jumps at me and it's like, whoa, what is that? And I'll write it down. Try not to have anything too strong in terms of food, like spicy stuff or garlicky stuff or oniony stuff or anything like pungenty strong that could interfere with your palate, right? We want a sort of clean palate. Like, you definitely don't want to brush your teeth right before you cup. That would be kind of a weird taste, right? So I think mid-morning is a perfect time for everybody, but just try to choose a consistent time if you're going to do it regularly. But for the most part, everything that you see here, you'll see it in the description. I'll put it in the description what you would need, just sort of a list. I know that the way that I've taught this, I'm not teaching. I'm basically just sharing how I do it. How I'm currently cupping coffees, why I cup them, all of the information that I've taken in from other coffee experts. I've tried to convey that here for you, okay? So if you want to try this coffee, my favorite decaf right now, I'll put that in the description as well. Shout out to Lars for recommending this video. I think it's really fun that I feel confident enough to be like, yeah, what other videos should I make? I like not having to think of video topics. So if there's more stuff you want to see, drop it in the comments. I'm open to that now. Lots of good things are coming on the way. If you saw my IG post, I am looking for an industrial space. If you are in the Inland Empire and you're like a realtor or somebody who knows of a place or knows of a friend or whatever, it's been really tough for me to be able to find a space. I've been calling and emailing, and the biggest hurdles that I'm coming up against are, we don't allow that. The smell of coffee is not allowed, if you can believe that. But I guess, you know, when you start roasting a lot of coffee, it can be quite a nuisance. So I'm really looking for an industrial zoned area or a general manufacturing zone. But yeah, somewhere in the IE. If you know somebody, if you got a lead, if you could help me, that would be really great. Hit me up on IG. You can DM me. And if you have any questions like, hey, what do you need, Meg? Then I'll let you know what requirements I need. It's pretty specific, and that's why I'm kind of having a hard time. But we're going to make it happen. And I'm just going to need your help. And that's how we're going to make it happen. Okay, you guys have been awesome so far. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.